When we've worn masks for so long, how do we even recognize who we really are underneath, especially when those masks once kept us safe?
Hmm. I think that, I'll say there's no right or wrong answer to this, but I can only share what's helped me and what I've seen help other people is oftentimes we actually first need to learn how to absolutely love those masks and see how those masks have helped us. Even if we're not aware of what the masks are, we probably have an idea of what they are, and then usually we'll first go to how do I get rid of this mask? Just like the question, right? But oftentimes it's like the journey of healing trauma too, is like we first actually have to see how it deeply helps us so that we don't have the pressure of trying to fix it first, because that pressure will lock it into place even more. There's a magic that happens when we first can recognize those masks or those parts of ourselves that have been filtered. A powerful process could be journaling or going into a breathwork session and really just doing some self-discovery around how have those really supported me?
Mhm.
How have those helped me, kept me safe in my life? What have they given me? And a lot of times when we learn to love the resistance, that's usually the path of those things falling away, not from a forceful needing to clear them out and get rid of them, but when you can see the adaptiveness of them, a lot of the times they'll start to fall away. Something that I've experienced, and a good sort of example of this is projection. Like if people are projecting a certain thing onto you and you can feel it. uh, I heard this one time and it just rang true in every one of my cells. People can't project something onto you if you're fully occupying yourself. Like there's not space inside of you to be projected upon if you're occupying your own vulnerable, like your own authenticity. And so when it comes to wearing masks, is like the masks are a it is a false, it's providing a false sense of connection, meaning that if I'm wearing a mask, people can only connect to that masked part of me that's actually not me. So then I'm actually not in connection with them. It's like, um, if I'm a tree and you're a tree and we're trying to connect at our roots and I'm wearing a mask or I'm holding back certain part of myself, well, we can only touch branches. We're not going to actually be able to connect from the root source that's giving us nutrients together, right? The
Yeah.
deep nutrition that we can share together. And so part of it is learning how to occupy yourself fully. That's why, we teach so much somatic awareness. What am I feeling? What's going on in my body? The second part of that is, can I actually communicate that to people? And can I actually tell people my truth without the mask? Because the masks are the people pleasing part of us that's trying to fit into a certain area because we want connection. But then at the same time, we're never actually going to get deep, true connection because it's only going to reach as far as the mask, right? We're not going to get
Right.
those deep root connection of nutrition, like at a deep connected level.
Yeah. So hearing you say that, I'm curious if wearing masks is also kind of this like self-inflicted safety mechanism because maybe there's parts of yourself that you haven't fully accepted, or there's parts of yourself that you're
Mhm.
shunning or pushing away or ashamed of, and so therefore you wear this mask to look like you're all, perfectly put together and you've got nothing wrong with
Yeah.
you. But this is actually what's stopping these deep connections from happening, because you are also not deeply connecting to yourself because there's certain parts of yourself that you're pushing away. So like how can we start to lean into more of that like self-acceptance and accepting all of those parts? And
Yeah.
if we do that, will the masks just like naturally fall away?
I wanna pause you for a second, and maybe we can actually try this little exercise that people
Yeah.
can do at home. So this is a powerful prompt to do with people in your life. And it requires you to be pretty vulnerable and pretty honest. But the prompt is, Adam, right now, I want you to see me as this, but I'd rather be loved for who I am. And so, well, let's try it. Maybe we do a couple rounds
Yeah.
here and just so people can have an understanding of this. And, it's best to do this obviously in connections where you feel safe, where you can be honest and in truth and vulnerable. But beyond that, like, it'll be a practice of you being honest, true, and vulnerable. And sometimes that's the only way into it is through it. So, right now, Adam, I want you to see me as I am all knowing and wise, but I'd rather be loved for who I actually am.
It's interesting because hearing you say both of those statements, it creates this divide and almost like there's two parts of myself that are trying to be like, okay, I can see you like all knowing and wise because like
Yeah,
you are the sage.
yeah.
Like that's easy to
Yeah.
see your
Yeah.
role. But then the contradictory side of me is like, but to love you in your fullest capacity for just as you are goes beyond
Mhm.
that simple role.
Yeah. It's more for me to bring awareness to myself of what is the mask that I'm wearing, right?
Mm,
You could look at this exercise as like it really just matters. I mean, yes, you're being seen and heard by the people that you're doing this with, but it's mostly for you to become aware of like, how am I, like, maybe it's true. Maybe like I do know a lot about these things that we're talking about and I've experienced those. But even then, like, the what are the garments, the clothes, the cloaks that I am kind of wearing that I'm trying to like spruce up a little bit, right?
mm.
So
Oh,
maybe it's true, but at the same time, like, let's just try it.
okay. I think I've got this. I think I've got this.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, I want you to see me as the perfect podcast host that knows exactly what to say. But I also want you to love me just as I am.
Mm, yeah. Adam, right now, and maybe I could even say anybody who's listening to this, I want you to see me as I'm a professional and like, I'm someone to be respected and I know exactly what I'm talking about all the time. But I'd rather be loved for, who I am.
Mm. Okay, so let me broaden it. Everyone that's listening, I
Yeah.
want you to see me as the ideal instructor, the perfect mentor, somebody who has the answer to every possible question you could bring to me. But what I would love more than that is if you could love me just as me.
Yeah. So the point being with this exercise and the point being with masks is that maybe the mask that we're wearing is actually it's actually true. It's not that it's a false identity, but really what the masks are is that I'm only showing you one part of myself. Like, I'm not necessarily, maybe some people are just like putting on a whole new identity that might not even be them, but that's rarely the case. Usually it's that it's the masks are not, it's not something that we're wearing. It's more that we're filtering certain parts out. And that filtering process is the same thing that we speak about, such as parasitic tension, meaning that it's taking energy from me to push things down and to hold back certain things. It's taking energy from me to hold back, you know, the full truth of who I am when I'm just wearing a mask. So it's like um this plugging process of the fullness of my truth that wants to come out, where I'm going to plug certain parts so that it's curated in a certain way, and that's the masks necessarily. So it might be more helpful to not think about something that you're putting on like a mask, but more as like I'm filtering myself, so so that there's like a lens in how you view me, right?
Mhm.
But then I'll never be able to actually be seen and connected to.
Yeah. It's interesting that you're tying this into parasitic tension because it does take so much effort to
It's draining.
remember to put your mask on, but also,
Yeah.
especially if you're having to wear multiple masks, like a mask with your partner and a mask with your friends and a mask at work, and
Mhm.
having to remember what mask to wear in what particular scenario. And heaven forbid I show this part of myself to these people. And it's so draining. It's so draining to not be
Yeah.
able to just be the fullest expression of yourself, regardless of who you're with. So
Yeah.
I
If
guess,
anybody, if I'll say this, if
yeah.
anybody has struggled in their life with lying, which I can remember periods of my life where, yeah, I really struggled with like telling the truth.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that I was creating these massive like lies that were completely different than what was going on. It was that I was holding back the full truth. I forget what they call that. There's a word for it. It's going to come to me at some point. But I'm curating what the truth is. And if anybody has struggled with that, you know how exhausting it is, because then you have to remember, what did I tell this person? And then what did I tell this person? And then after a while of doing that, the compounding effect, the exponential effect of that, now you have to hold up all of these half truths, if you will, which becomes incredibly draining to your nervous system. Instead of like, I'm just me and I'm the full truth and I'm telling everybody that. Therefore, I don't have to fluctuate and change and hold certain parts back. And then, because a lot of us have struggled with this in our life, it might be pretty painful in the beginning, because it's going to reorganize a ton of your relationships. You might have certain people in your life that are connected to you because they like the mask.
Mhm.
And that's a whole other painful process to go through. And I've gone through this in my life where it's like, you know, that's why we call it self-discovery, because somatic breathwork is actually a tool to get to the core essence of ourself. And it's not that who we are right now is a false representation of us, unless we're kind of deep in it in that sort of way. But maybe it's a consistently pulling back the layers of the parasitic tension that's almost like armor around us, that's blocking the expression of our truth so that people can actually connect to us.
Yeah.